There are islands we know about, islands we don't know about, and then there are islands that we used to know about, but somehow lost track of. One such place is the disappearing island of Bermeja, which some believe may be hiding under the water somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico. Or if it is still out there, it's successfully managed to hide from us. What we do know for sure is that this isn't just a legend or local hearsay. Bermeja was at one point charted on official maps, going as far back as the 16th century. And yet today, it doesn't exist. Or does it? It's me, and you're watching this channel. Join me today as we dive deep into the perplexing case of the vanishing island of Bermuda. Our story begins in the Yucatan Channel, also known as the Caribbean, or more specifically, the Western Caribbean. This is a body of water between the Yucatan Peninsula and Cuba. It's home to many beautiful islands and even more beautiful reefs. It's also home to the mysterious island of Bermeja. But just how mysterious is the island? That depends on when you're talking about. According to old maps, Bermeja would have been located here, somewhere around these coordinates. However, if you were to sail there today, you wouldn't find anything but open sea. So where is it? And did it ever actually exist? Well, let's start with the beginning. We first hear of Bermeja in 1539, when Spanish explorer Alonso de Santa Cruz spotted it on his voyage across the Caribbean. He described it as being blondish, red, or reddish, hence the name Bermeja, which means red or auburn in Spanish. According to his account, the island was uninhabited and covered in trees and bushes. However, despite having discovered it, Santa Cruz never landed on the island, so he wasn't certain of its exact location. Fast forward to 1618, and French explorer Reine-Robert Cavelier, Sieur de la Salle, came across the island and confirmed its existence. Not only that, but he was the first European to set foot on the island. In his journal, he wrote about finding animal bones and footprints, suggesting that the island had been inhabited by indigenous people in the recent past. This was around the time when most of the native populations in the Greater Antilles had already been wiped out or enslaved by the conquistadors. So it's possible that Bermeja had been home to one of the few remaining groups. In 1722, the British cartographer John Thornton included the island of Bermeja on his map of the West Indies. By this point, though, the island was said to be submerged and barely visible above the water. This would be the last time Bermeja was ever officially charted. So what happened to it? Did it sink into the ocean? Was it a figment of the explorers' imaginations? Or is it still out there somewhere, hidden beneath the waves? Over the years, several theories have emerged to try and explain the island's disappearance. Some say it was a real island that sank during a natural disaster like a hurricane. Others say it was never an island at all, but rather a sandbar or reef that was mistaken for one. Still, others say the island was intentionally erased from maps by the Spanish who wanted to keep its location a secret. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is for sure: the island of Bermeja has captured the imaginations of explorers, scientists, and historians alike. Its disappearance remains a mystery that continues to baffle and intrigue those who are fascinated by the unknown. Okay, so now let's fast forward to 2019. At this point, the island has been missing for over 300 years. But two brothers named Fernando and Ruben Lodo decided they needed to get to the bottom of this. They set sail with a documentary crew to the last known coordinates of the island of Bermeja. Their goal was to discover whether the island still existed and to solve the mystery behind its disappearance. They sailed for days through rough seas and bad weather, but just as they began to lose hope, their instruments picked up something strange. Despite the fact that their charts showed nothing but empty ocean, their depth sounder suddenly detected a large landmass directly in their path. Could this be the long-lost island of Bermeja? Excited but cautious, Fernando and Ruben decided to investigate. As they approached what seemed to be a large island, they carefully maneuvered their boat around what turned out to be the edge of a massive cliff. All the while, their instruments remained adamant that they were still on solid ground. Suddenly, the captain noticed something even more peculiar. There seemed to be a small opening in the cliffs ahead, almost like a narrow strait that cut through the island. Intrigued, he steered the ship towards the opening. What they found on the other side was nothing short of astonishing. Instead of the open ocean they were expecting to see, they found themselves in a huge bay surrounded by lush vegetation. As they sailed further into the bay, they realized that what they had initially thought was an island was actually a gigantic underwater structure. And as they rounded the corner of the underwater structure, they saw something that made their hearts skip a beat. In front of them lay a vast city. Tall buildings made of coral and rock rose out of the water, adorned with lush vegetation that gave them a haunting, almost mystical appearance. The city seemed to stretch as far as the eye could see in both directions. It was as if they had stumbled upon a lost civilization that had been hidden beneath the waves for centuries. Overcome with wonder and excitement, Fernando and Ruben knew that they had stumbled upon something truly extraordinary. They wasted no time in diving in to explore the underwater ruins. What they found was nothing short of breathtaking. The city was filled with intricate carvings and structures that hinted at a sophisticated and advanced civilization. They found statues of strange and exotic creatures, as well as artifacts made from materials that were not native to the area. As they continued to explore the underwater city, they began to uncover more clues about its history and its people. They found what appeared to be a library filled with ancient texts written in a language that was unlike anything they had ever seen before. They also found tools and weapons that suggested the city's inhabitants had been skilled craftsmen and warriors. But perhaps the most intriguing discovery of all was a series of murals that depicted the daily life of the city's inhabitants. The murals showed people going about their daily lives, as well as scenes of war and conquest. They also showed strange and exotic animals, as well as depictions of the sky and the stars that were unlike anything the divers had ever seen before. As the divers continued to explore the underwater city, they began to piece together the history of this lost civilization. They learned that the city had been home to a highly advanced and sophisticated society that had thrived for centuries. They also learned that the city had been destroyed by a natural disaster, such as a tsunami or a volcanic eruption, which had caused it to sink beneath the waves. The divers were stunned by what they had found. They had uncovered the secrets of a lost civilization that had been hidden beneath the water for centuries. They knew that their discovery would change history, and that they would be remembered as the ones who had uncovered this amazing sight. However, not everyone was so excited about the discovery. As news of the underwater city spread, there were those who tried to discredit the divers and their findings. Some said that the divers had made the whole thing up for attention or money. Others said that the underwater city was not actually a city at all, but rather a natural formation that the divers had mistaken for something man-made. But the divers were not deterred by the naysayers. They continued to explore the underwater city, and they made even more amazing discoveries. They found evidence that the city had been home to a highly advanced culture that had excelled in science, mathematics, and engineering. They also found evidence that the city had been involved in trade with other civilizations from around the world. Despite the skepticism, the divers continued to share their findings with the world, and eventually they won people over. The amazing discoveries that they had made were simply too much to ignore. People began to realize that the underwater city was a real and important part of history, and that the divers had done a great service by uncovering it. Today, the underwater city is a popular tourist destination. People from all over the world come to see the amazing ruins and learn about the lost civilization that once lived there. The divers who made the discovery are hailed as heroes, and their names are written in history books. And yet, despite all of the attention and acclaim, the divers remain humble. They know that they simply stumbled upon something truly amazing, and that they were just the first to discover it. The underwater city is a reminder that there is still so much to learn about our world, and that there are still amazing discoveries to be made. But here's the kicker. All that time the documentary crew were sailing around the island, they sent a diver in to check it out. And when he returned, he told them he'd seen a city. Not just that, but he'd heard people calling his name. And he was pretty sure they were trying to communicate with him. But how could that be? He was underwater, and the island wasn't even supposed to be there. And to add to the mystery, when the team checked their GPS, it told them that they were on land. But when they looked around, there was nothing but open sea. Had they somehow managed to find the lost island of Bermeja? Or was this a figment of their imaginations? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.